Hey guys, how are we all doing? So in the last video we discussed the potential for this to break down. We were looking at a small time frame setup as well, which we'll discuss, which obviously didn't play out, and we'll also look at the larger time frame that we discussed. So we were talking about the potential for this bull flag to break down and the areas that we'd be looking for it to bounce from, and obviously the top of the previous range around here in early October. We're talking about the possibility of bounce off that, which we came down and we got a perfect touch of that level, and then we went sideways for a day, and then obviously put in that morning star reversal pattern and bounce back up there just a couple of hours ago this morning. Now it's really important that we reclaim the range from the bottom of this level, which is the daily order block, which I usually have highlighted as a rectangle like this. And I just make it a little bit different in color with a green outline and a blue box. It depends on the way I'm looking at the market and how I'm feeling about the chart at the time. But sometimes if I want to declutter a little bit, I just get rid of this and just put a line underneath it. So you might see that sometimes through there. So at the moment, we've bartered back up, and it's been we did a full BART right to the top of the breakdown point, but it's actually been rejected, and we're wicking back down underneath the key level that we need to reclaim. Now, there's a bit of confusion at the moment in my system right now, because the level that I need it to reclaim realistically is really only this level here from the bottom of this range. Now, I've got another chart which shows it a bit more clearly. So this is our previous range that we're in when we're in this flag, and this is the lower boundary of the range on the hourly. So this is your lowest close, right? And we've actually reclaimed that level, which sort of is an indication that this would be a nice long entry for a continuation upwards. Probably going to happen in the next day after this 4-hour close, I would imagine. It was a little bit weird because we only really got bullish action for one 5-minute candle. So this might have just been one whale putting in a couple of massive market buys and pushing the market up, and then liquidations followed and pumped us back above this level. So it's a little bit weird that, I'm never a big fan of these big, massive 1 5-minute candle rallies, because it just doesn't really look that organic. A little bit of an SFP here on the lower time frames from this level here, and also we're putting in a couple of bear divs as well along here, which isn't, it's not really looking that amazing on the lower time frames. But I mean, it all really depends on what happens at the close of the 4-hour and the close of the daily, which is coming up in the next couple of hours. How long are we off? We're about an hour and a half away until the daily close. So what I really would like it to reclaim is obviously the daily level, which is this level here, and it's about 9,080, right? Which obviously comes from this daily order block that we were just looking at before. That to me would be pretty bullish for this to reclaim that level, and then I would look for it to obviously reclaim this 9,004 level, and then obviously the really important level that we've talked about multiple times is getting back above this 9,600 level, and getting back with a close on the high time frames on the 4-hour, the daily, back above this area like this, right? And that would be a really good entry that I'll be looking to take for a takeoff. I think once we get above that area, we should push to the top of this range at about 10.4, and then look to take out the next weekly order block at about 11,005 to 11,006. So those are sort of the trade setups I'm looking at the moment. We did get a really nice bounce off the areas that we were looking from this 8786 zone. So I bought back some spot coins in here, which was pretty nice. So yeah. The other level, obviously, which we haven't seen if it's going to get tested or not, that we're looking at is this sort of 8.2 area, the bottom of the order block, and it's the mid-range from this consolidation period back in May and June, right? So we could, this could get rejected here. I don't want to see it close underneath this level, because closing underneath the daily level, and even worse if it closes below the 1-hour level, right, of this range, because it's sort of the same as closing below here, right? It's obviously bearish. We want to close above the breakdown points of these BART actions. You don't want to break down and then come back up and then get rejected at the level and break down again. So sort of this same pattern playing out again, which if we can't reclaim this level on the daily, which is 9,800 with a solid close above there on higher time frames, say like on the daily, for example, and at least you want to close above there on the 4 hour, I would expect further downside and probably come down to test this area. The other thing as well that is pretty notable is that obviously you can see here the resistance trend line from our descending triangle that lasted about 3-4 months. We obviously broke out the top of that, came back, retested that, so we've got a really nice bullish retest of that level there. If we flip that across to log scale, we're still obviously below that, so but obviously the level is getting lower and lower, so a breakout of this level is still going to be quite bullish in my opinion, and it's getting lower and lower to break out from that level. So we could get a reclaim of that in the next week and break above this sort of 9,100, 9,200 level, get back into this range here, and then reclaim the 9,600 level. Would be extremely bullish in my opinion for further upside movement. And obviously if we cannot get above this 980 level on the daily at least, and the 4 hour at bare minimum, start getting closes above there and a breakout of this level on the 4 hour, I'll consider the market more and more bullish. If we can't get a 4 hour close at least above this 980 level, I consider it to be quite bearish still and be looking for more downside continuation inside this range here, the trend line, sorry, and probably test the mid level of this range down here at this 8.2 level. Some people think we're going to come back and retest this 7.2 area and have a double bottom, possibly. I think it's less likely because we're sort of still in this downwards channel. Some people say it's a falling wedge on log scale specifically. It does look like it's in a bit of just a downward sloping channel. So, we could end up seeing some sort of action like this and even come back to, the mid 6 ranges and then go back up and do something like that. Or, there's a possibility that we're actually in a bear market. And I think there's a bit of a battle going on at the moment, which is why we're getting this really tight range right now and low volatility. This is a huge move for recently because we've been, for the last week or so, we've been in a really tight range, right? The last 2 weeks we've been in quite a tight range through here. And then especially on the daily, the last daily, it was really tight. There was only about I think maybe 1.5% or something like that throughout this range here. So yeah, hasn't been too much great trading going on, especially over the weekend. It was pretty quiet. We've got this nice pump. So daily is about to close in about an hour and a half. It's going to be quite an interesting close, I think. And obviously I'm going to be looking to see if we can reclaim this level or not. I think it's super important that we do reclaim at least the 1 hourly level. I would like to see that reclaimed 100% on the daily. I think a close below this 1 hour level of the previous range would be extremely bearish. I'll definitely be looking for shorts if it close underneath there in the next couple of hours. Something like that would be quite an obvious short entry for me, and stops would just be above this level, this 980 level. If we can reclaim this range and get into the daily order block again, which is just trying in the last hour or so, but bears are obviously defending, I think this would be a really nice area to sort of take along. And obviously it's quite bullish if we can get out of this range as well. So I'll be looking for something like that to happen as well. And that would be a nice entry for another long also. So yeah, that's sort of like what I'm looking at in the market right now, guys. Nothing too crazy. We had a little bit of volatility over the last couple of hours, but nothing to get too excited about. It was only about a 3% move. Yeah, 2.5% move. It was really only in one 5-minute candle, so it's not like we've had some really good buying pressure. It was just one burst, probably during some really low volatility time. It was very early in the morning here in the US, and I think extremely late at night, in the Asia time zone. So yeah, a bit of weird activity. Pretty undecisive for me right now, but I want to, I think the most notable thing is that we have actually reclaimed the bottom of this range here on the hourly time frame. So this is the middle of the range, which is about 9,500. The lower boundary of the range is about 9K, and the top of this range, flick it across to the hourly. It's a bit clearer. and the top of this range is just here at about the 9,700 level. So this is sort of what I'm looking at mainly, just to play this trading range. If I really was quite bullish on the market and I wanted to get into a long, it's not a bad idea to long here with stop loss below this level in case it does dump out. But I'm going to wait until the week closes, and then I'll have a look and see what happens after the first hour or two of the weekly open, because it could be a lot of volatility going into the last hour or so. It's going to be interesting to see if there is a bit of a battle on for the weekly level. So we'll just go quickly have a look at the weekly chart, because it's probably quite important. We'll get across onto one that's got order blocks in it. So let's go take a look here. So obviously we're not going to reclaim this order block. We're way too far off that. There's no real clear weekly levels for a battle for at the moment, so we might not get that much volatility, but I would like to see the weekly close above this daily level. So yeah, let's see if they can claim it. It's not too far off at the moment. It's something about $20. Let's see what the bulls can do in the last in the last hour and a half of the weekly. So well, I'll do another update in the next day or so, guys. But yeah, those are the main key trades I'm looking for. And I think obviously if we can break out from this descending triangle resistance, or the falling wedge resistance on log scale, I think that's going to be extremely bullish. So that's what I'm looking for. This and then these two at the two key levels. So this 9,600 and the breakout of the falling wedge resistance are going to be the two key levels for the bulls to claim in the next week. So that's what I'll be looking for, and I'll be taking longs around those positions if we do reclaim those levels, and that would be a very bullish sign for me. It's possible that we just range now through here for the next month and a half until December, which some people are thinking we will do, and we'll have an alt season. But yeah, it's very hard to predict at the moment what's going to happen in the market until we start reclaiming key levels. So I'm pretty flat right now, but if we do reclaim this 9.6 level, I'm going to be extremely bullish. And if we can reclaim the bottom of this daily order block, I'm going to be a lot more bullish than I am right now. So it's going to be an interesting daily close coming up in the next hour and a half, and we'll see you guys all in the next video. Cheers.